We're back today with one of our favorite law firms, Older Lundy, to discuss a topic that more people should probably been thinking about, and that is wills, trusts, estate planning. And joining us today is Ann-Eliza Musoke Taylor, who specializes in this category of law. It is nice to meet you. How are you today?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
I got started talking about this was something that I knew we needed to take care of, and I really think it's an important information for people to talk and consider, of course. Let's first dive in, though. Estate planning. When we say that title, what all does that involve?
Well, estate planning is wills and trusts, healthcare documents. It's all the things that we want you to consider for healthcare and end of life.
And of course, when is the time to do that?
Well, I say that the time is now. Most people have put it off for quite a while. It's difficult to talk about. It's talking about what happens to your assets when you pass away. And so for some people, it's a little hard to consider, but like anything else, it's something that you should be working on rather than waiting until it's an issue. So I have clients who have done their estate planning before they had children, and then when their children are old enough and going off to college, they'll bring them in to do wills and healthcare documents, so it's never too early.
I like being able to talk about it's never too early. My husband and I were ones that, waited, and we had our child, and that was one of the first things we did when she was a baby was the will. And so the will, I feel like, is the cornerstone. That's maybe the term that most people are familiar with, right?
Yes. Most people will put off their own well-being for a while, but when they have a child, that's really when they consider, okay, now I got to really do some adulting and do some estate planning. Because God forbid something happens to both mom and dad at the same time, they're traveling together. The question would be, what happens to mom and dad's assets? Where does the child go? Who's going to be the guardian? And having at least a simple will in place will put all of that on paper so that your loved ones aren't left wondering, what did you want? What should we be doing for you?
I really like how you say that. You don't want your loved ones to wonder and try to execute the best. I think that's really important right there. Another thing, though, you hear the term will, you hear the term trust. Unless you have dove into those things and learned what each are, sometimes there can be overwhelming. So what are the differences between the two documents? Well,
your last will and testament, think of that as a set of instructions for the state of Florida to know what to do with your assets when you pass away. So it's a document that really doesn't kick in until you actually die. One of the big differences between a will and a trust is your trust starts to work for you the moment you sign it. It becomes a legal entity that can hold assets in your name or in the name of the trust, and then dictate how they should be distributed or managed or otherwise taken control over. And that allows for a trustee, someone that you name, whether that be a trusted family member or a professional, it allows them to distribute your assets, not just when you die, but you also have to consider incapacity. Because so many of us are living longer, but we may suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's or any of those other ailments that come along that make it so we can no longer handle our own finances.
Well, I think, too, you said it best, Ann-Eliza, right at the very beginning of this segment, when you said that this is something people don't like to talk about necessarily, but it is so important. So what can we do to begin this process today if we have not done so already?
Well, I recommend talking to your trusted attorney. You can do some of these documents on your own, but the drawback is if they're done incorrectly, if they're improperly executed, or if they don't have the right language, all of that work could lead to nothing when the time comes. Oh, wow. So I highly recommend talking to a legal professional about creating a estate plan. They're going to be able to give you the tools, the resources, and to really craft something that's unique and suits your family and your needs.
I like hearing that. Again, working one-on-one, and I know you would be a great person to do that. Just spending a few minutes with you here today, I can tell. We want to make sure, though, and share the contact information. If you want to go ahead, start thinking about the importance of estate planning and executing it, there's the information on your screen so you can get in touch with Older Lundy Law today. There's the website and phone number.